Hello, friends. This is Chandra from Akulmach Technologies, and we have reached the last day of 2020. I think today we should talk about what has happened during the past 365 days, and to discuss that or to reflect on what has happened last year or the last day on the last day of 2020. Let me invite my friend from UK, Mr. Neville Gaunt.
Good morning, CK. Good morning, everybody. Reflection of a leap year. Yes, we've had one extra day this year. Although this is still the 31st of December, for all of those you can remember going back to February, there was actually a February the 29th this year. Once every 4 years, and it just so happened that it gave us the same year as the pandemic that hit the world. I mean, you couldn't make this up, really, could you? We got an extra year of disaster in many respects. But let's reflect on the past year. What was the highlight of the year, as far as you're concerned, CK?
The number one highlight is the pandemic has taught us how to maintain social distancing, not only in the social world, but also how do we behave digitally. So I think the social distancing has been a big learning for all of us, and also maintain personal hygiene. So I think these are the two highlights that I can see straight away started in the month of January 2020 and still continues.
Yeah, I mean, it is probably the year of COVID. We will all remember the big C, and it isn't cancer. It's a different form of cancer. It's a flu. It's a flu virus that's killed thousands of people around the world. We're probably into the million, I would guess, now, if truth be known. I don't know where the official numbers have got to. And we're not out of it. You know, we're still bang smack in the middle of another wave coming through the UK, and I'm sure you're seeing something similar in India. So we can't get around it. We can't ignore it. We can't be in denial of it. The fact is, it was a fact, and we needed to deal with it. But there's some good stuff that came out of it, CK. It brought other people together on a long distance. All of those networking platforms that were all digital got a huge increase in utilization, in usage, which was brilliant. Zoom, for instance, the package we're using here, it went from zero to hero overnight. They had a free package that they offered people, and they extended it. Very smart marketing move. They did it literally because they were human. And this is what I think one of the real positives that's come out of this particular COVID virus. And it's shown how many people are human, that human kindness, people going the extra mile to help someone out, recognizing some of our key workers that we just say, oh, they're doing a job. They're actually doing far more than a job. They're keeping us alive. All of our health workers and all of the infrastructure behind the health workers, including their families. Get their families. That was a real big, important issue. And in the UK, I know we, clap for heroes on a Thursday evening at 8 o'clock. And I know that you did something similar in India. In fact, it rippled around the world. I remember one particular event that really brought a tear to my eye was from Italy, where an operatic singer would sing to everybody in the evening just to keep the morale high. It brought the human out of everybody, and it was the good part of being human. So that was one feature. What about another one? What other highlight of 2020?
So, talking about the mankind and the human ingenuity, I think the biggest second factor that we should discuss about is the sacrifice made by millions of frontline workers so that rest of the humanity can survive. So, people like healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, and other healthcare staff, uh, law and order apparatus, and also the municipal corporations across the world. I think we should thank people who have they had an option to stay at home with their families, but they came out, and some of them have also perished because of COVID, but they continued. So I think that's a big thanks to the frontline warriors.
Absolutely. And these frontline warriors extended far beyond the healthcare workers. It was the refuse collectors, police, those in service around the world, those in the army that actually were asked to do things that they hadn't done in a long, long time. And even down to the people that kept the lights going. You know, those manufacturers, those in engineering that actually kept us as a society moving along. And the other thing is, we need to thank everybody for doing their part, because it's not over. We need to be aware that it's not over yet. The vaccines are here. So that's the third one I think we should focus on. The brilliance of our scientists that can create a vaccine in an unprecedented minimal time, whereas normally it takes 10 years. And all they've done is condensed all of that 10-year development into a short period of time. And they've done that by throwing resources at it. People going the extra mile. In the UK, we've got 2 vaccines that have been approved now, independently approved. And I think we need to make that point too. So these haven't been forced through by the government in desperation of solving this particular crisis. These have been independently approved, reputations have been put on the line, and now not only have we seen our first patient vaccinated, but as we know, this particular vaccine is a double. So you have to have one followed by another one. And we've had our first that has received a double dose, which is excellent before the year's out. So in the same year of identifying the virus, we've had our first person in the UK that's been completely given the vaccination, which is the Pfizer vaccination. So that's the other thing to celebrate of last year. What other celebrations can we think of? And let's think of in a global arena. What real breakthroughs do you think have been out there on a global basis?
I think the third breakthrough that we had is other than the vaccination development is about the work from home arena. So people have realized that they can also be productive while working from their home offices, which was not the case earlier. So a lot of these tools emerged, a lot of this technology emerged, a lot of psychological issues and their solutions also emerged, so that people can work from home, students can study from home and things like that. So I think that's the third important aspect of the change business environment today.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is a changing business and educational environment. The personal environment is changing. You and I are talking over an established media now. I remember back in 1988 when I first went into a video conferencing suite. Can you remember those terms? Where you had peer to peer. I mean, I'm sitting in my library, my study, talking to you, sitting in your workplace, your study, 7,000 miles away, through a non-dedicated line over a general internet feed. I mean, we wouldn't have even contemplated that back in the 1980s, when I saw this huge peer-to-peer opportunity. And remember the delays?
Well,
There's a delay, you see, there's a delay. But those delays were even extended. It was almost like sometimes it could be a 60-second delay. Someone would say something, and it was a bit like, say, the shortwave radio, blah, 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 over. And then you'd wait for the other person to pick it up. And then have the conversation was literally, you said something, they said something, you said something, they said something. Now, the latency is we're almost in the same room. It's not quite that yet, but we're almost in the same room. So that's the technological advance that we take for granted. Just like when we switch on a switch on the wall, we expect the light to turn on. The same has become when we switch on Zoom. We just expect it to happen. And we need to manage those expectations. So I think working from home, this whole new arena, has raised lots and lots of issues. And one I would like to focus on is empathy. We all talk about leaders must have empathy. Not sympathy and understanding. It's more than that. They need to know where their employees, where their friends are coming from, why they're saying what they're saying. And I think this element of forced empathy, because most people have had to do this. Everything's gone online. Teams are now working from home. No more have you got an employer that's breathing down your neck watching what you do, because you physically can't do that over the internet. I mean, you can have motion sensors on these things if you like, and I know few companies around the world have done that, but they've soon come to realization is that's not the way to manage people. You need to manage people, you need to trust them. So all of those key values that we value so much in our personal life, in our family life, and in our operational life are now coming to the forefront. So I think that's another one we can reflect upon and hopefully get better for next year. What else do you think, CK, before we wrap up 2020?
So the fourth important thing from my perspective is the willingness of the government to work in a very positive manner. I think by and large, all countries and all governments have worked together to solve a particular problem which has affected everyone. So I think that is the fourth important aspect that we have seen as a change. That most of the governments across the world, there are few notorious elements, but by and large, 99% have worked towards the benefit of mankind, and they have applied their mind to create environment, create processes of all the learning that they have had for last 1,000 years to make proper arrangements so that there are no slippages and there is nobody left behind without any help. So I think that is very commendable. I think so.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. It's so easy to bash your own government or someone else's government, and I see it so often that it just, I just wonder what planet these people are on. Yes, it's poor leadership, but in many respects, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity now to be encouraging them to do better, and they all want to do better. Let's face it; they've gone into public life, and the last thing they wanted to do was to have a pandemic on their doorstep once they've just been elected. They don't want to be making life and death decisions. They want to be running an economy that's sort of on the up or managing an economy that's on the down. They don't want to be dealing with life-threatening situations. And they've had to do it. They've been forced into it. Some have made mistakes. In fact, I think they'll probably all admit, everyone will admit to have been making mistakes and perhaps doing it better next time round. But just like politicians, if they say that, then it's almost a loss of face. So I think we've just got to be a little bit more empathetic towards them. They haven't wanted to sign the death certificate on so many people. Every life lost in this particular pandemic, in any pandemic, is a sad loss, because it's not just one life, it's a whole heap of lives that's affected. It's the ones that are left behind. So yeah, you're absolutely right. We need to celebrate these people around the world for doing the best job that they could do, and let's hope they get better at it. That's all we can hope for.
In fact, Neville, they are getting better at it. The clear example is the preparation that the Indian government is doing is basically on the vaccination drive. And I saw on the TV today that they are built the first vaccination center, which will be used as a cookie cutter across the country. So I think the government is doing everything to comfort the people, to make sure that everybody is vaccinated in a proper fashion, and there are proper storage of vaccination. The vaccinations are getting approved. Different manufacturing do's and don'ts are being taught to the health worker, and proper SOPs are being created. So I think that is already reflected in the way the government is working. So I think that is the fifth one, that we're preparing for vaccination drive in 2021.
Yep, and that's important. And I think unless you've got anything else about 2020, I mean, we can talk about global elections around the world. We can talk about changing election state in America. In the UK, we had a new government at the beginning of this year. Um, uh, we've got Brexit that's now being finished. So, although we are a partner of the European Union, we're no longer in the European Union. There's lots of things that have happened around the world that will happen on a normal basis. At the moment, we've got most of the aircraft are actually on the ground. There are very few flying. But next year, let's look forward to next year. Expectations for next year. What can we get people excited about that really is going to make a difference in their life?
From my point of view, Neville, I feel that the 2020 as a year has been a year of learning, and 2021 will be the year of implementation of what we have learned in the past year. So I think number one thing from my point of view, which will happen in 2021, is the actual globalization. Because in 2019 and 2020, we have seen that people moving away from globalization to localization, but that has not happened. So with digital era on the verge of exploding, I think we will become more and more global. Our business will not see any boundaries and stuff like that. And you mentioned Brexit. Brexit has happened because they just wanted to get rid of it. They don't want to hold to their guns, and it has happened so that they can move ahead now. So I think they have other problems to handle and things like that. So I think that is where the change is coming in a global scenario.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. We've gone through this very quick cycle of globalization, localization, the panic of not being in control of your own destiny, but the realization actually that the world is quite a small place. In many respects, in the 19, let's say, 60s and 70s, when the UK started to get most of its manufacturing imported from China because of the resource and the quickness, the speed, the cheapness, and the UK as a manufacturing nation. I think at the time, 25% plus of its GDP was based upon a manufacturing operation. In prior to the pandemic, we were talking about 9 or 10%. So that's what globalization had done for the UK. And that's not a bad thing, as far as I'm concerned, as long as everyone starts to understand the expectations of other governments, how we work together, how to work. We work together as not just from a government standpoint, but from an operational standpoint. We saw what happened with PPE around the world. We never want to see that again. That was literally panic buying throughout the world. No forward thinking. No recognition that the pandemic might hit one country before another. And I think it's learned. It was a year of learning. It's taught us lots of lessons. Some lessons that we probably never want to have to had learnt. However, we've learnt them. We've come through it. Some companies didn't succeed, other companies flourished, other companies managed to keep afloat. And I think now the opportunity in 2021 is to consolidate where you are and make it work. Engage with people in your organization, all of your stakeholders. We talk about these leadership issues, about engaging stakeholders. And frankly, not many people really do it very well. But now actually is the time to implement that engagement, to get it right for 2021 and really push forward and start to put the fun back into your business, because fundamentally this is a business show, and it's business that's going to get us out of this problem, not governments. Their income comes from businesses being successful. They can't just print money. And if they do print money, they end up like countries going into hyper and super inflation. So remember, folks, governments do not generate the income of the country. It's businesses that generate the income of the country. Governments provide the platform to accelerate that generation, to encourage the generation, and improve investment arena. And on that point, we've seen fintechs, the technology shifts in financial institutions around the world. That's one thing to look forward to next year. The ease of being able to transfer money from one bank to another. And I'm sure you've seen that in India. You've probably seen an influx of apps saying we can control your money, we can get this, we can do this exchange rate for you, etc., etc. And governments are going to be tested here very severely over management of money, because the last thing they want to do is let money go out of the country. But they need to be smart here, you know? They need to let businesses that are in India generate income from all sorts of opportunities around the world and have easy access to receiving that income and paying the bills associated with it. So that's one thing I think we can look forward to and focus on in 2021, because it's going to happen. You know, just like Amazon has hit a lot of retailers very hard. Well, the consumer wants to be able to move their own funds around. That's business as a consumer, or you and I as consumers.
So, Neville, I think you're absolutely right. India is at the forefront of the digital payment. In fact, India has become the largest player in the digital payment, especially in the micro segment, where people can easily transfer money with just a few clicks from their mobile. So, the government of India has launched those initiatives. But having said that, uh, the whole scenario of doing business is moving online and on the digital platform. Everybody, the branding, branding and marketing and promotions and building your own image is all moved online. And that is why the digital platforms are playing a major role. I think in 2021, there is a need for new regulations, because now if everything is happening online, it is not very regulated platform. So I think most of the government should focus on building the right framework for regulations. I think that is something that we should do in 2021.
You're absolutely right. And the interesting thing, CK, I was looking at approving our last print run from the year, our last payment run. And I just reflected on the fact that every month I would have had a regular payment to our printers. And that would be for printed material, you know, whether it was for exhibitions or it was to distribute around our current supply chain or a future supply chain or our current customers. And I'd noticed, and literally, I haven't really paid much attention to this because my focus has been trying to do other things. But I asked the question, where's the printing retainer? Now, I've been through, I do a print run. Look, I don't approve the print. I just look through the print run and I get a synopsis. You know, I can't go and approve every single invoice. It's too many of them. Although there's few of them this year because of what's been happening. I haven't been traveling, so lots of that's gone away. And printing, as you say, the digital media has come into play. And I noticed, I just asked the question, how many business cards have I got left? And my PA said, well, I have no idea. They're all in storage. And I said, what do you mean they're in storage? Well, you haven't been traveling. You haven't gone anywhere. So we haven't had to pick them out. I must have something like 6,000 business cards in storage, as she thinks currently, which is amazing because I get through about 20 or 30,000 business cards every single year. But this year, because of the pandemic, I haven't been traveling. The exhibitions that I might have gone to, I haven't gone to because they haven't been going. And it just, you know, even with someone like me that's in this digital world all the time, it just triggered to say, you know, that's one big impact. All of the hands I haven't shaken, You know, all the meals that I haven't gone to, you know, the breakfasts, the seminars. And yet I've had a really busy year and it's all been online. Every single one of it has been online. And I think a lot of businesses need to wake up to that fact and recognize this is actually the way business is really going to be moving forward.
And I,
And as I say, it came as a surprise to me. So it's not that I don't expect us to be online. It's just the wake up call has been there. It's been in our own backyard for 7 or 8 months. Some people are still in denial, and they need to get out of that denial state.
I think the last thing on my mind that we can discuss, which may happen in 2021, is the age of integration. Because when the digital platforms are there, the integration is also very important. You know, you should be able to use the digital platform of your choice from any other medium that you have, of your choice again. So I think the era of integration, use of AI, smart control of video and voice, reach out and launch out different programs, uh, collections, stuff like that will have to be integrated into one platform so that everybody can use it. So a lot of players are going to come out with these integrated offerings. I think the forefront of these players would be the telecom operators because I think they are in the best place to roll out these plans. So I think that is where in 2021 a lot of changes we will see.
I think you're absolutely right, and I'm just going to make a bit of a plug for everybody out there. Um, Integrate into something that's already there. Don't reinvent the wheel. There's no point reinventing the wheel. The number of people that try to connect with me on LinkedIn and say, would you like to try our CRM program? Would you like to try this? There are thousands of them out there already. So you and I talk about me too. Don't be a me too. You know, be individual, be independent. Come online, talk about yourself because people buy from people. This is the message that everyone should be thinking about on the 31st of December when they look towards what's going to happen next year. What are our customers buying? If you're a very small company, a one-man band, they're buying you. If you're a slightly bigger company, but nonetheless a small company, 15, 20, 30 people, the likelihood is they're still buying you. And until you get to be a mid-sized company where they're buying a product or a service, but it's your salespeople that they're buying because it's the trust and relationships that your salespeople have. So fundamentally, they're buying you because it's your trust and relationships with your salespeople, if indeed you may even be one of them, if you're smart enough to recognize it. And then when you become a big multinational, a huge conglomerate, nothing changes. They're still buying you. It may be you on the business card that's got a nice brand that everybody recognizes, but the brand is being represented by you. So, me doesn't come into you. Me too just doesn't actually work because there's no growth in me too. You'll just be me too for the rest of your life. And fundamentally, it's all going to revolve around you. And that's me as well. So I'm in the you. So as I suppose as we leave 2020 and we enter 2021, remember it's the relationships that are going to count. People are buying from you. So get out there, show them who you really are.
Neville, I think the 50% of the workforce will be in the U arena, as you explained. You know, there will be the contract workforce. I think we can end our discussion today. We have discussed what happened in 2020 and what are the predictions for 2021. And this year, the New Year celebrations are washed out all over the world. There are restrictions. So I think I can wish you a very happy new year. And you and I will get together to leverage the opportunities which will cross our ways in 2021.
Absolutely, CK. And don't forget, everybody, just celebrate this evening. I mean, some people are closer than others. My brother in New Zealand is probably getting ready with the champagne as we speak, as it's moving into late in the evening. And you're moving on that direction as well, because it's already your afternoon. We're just waking up, and New York have just put the lights out from last night. So we are a global community. There's 24 hours that goes around. Remember that. Remember tonight, as most people will not be celebrating in the masses, celebrate yourself. Light a little candle for you and your family. And I wish you all the success and a lot of health for 2021. And let's hit the new year with a bang.
Neville, I'll catch up with you in the next episode of Akulmach Live in 2021. Until
Next year. Next year.
next,
Next year. Bye, everybody.
bye bye.